Hey everyone, welcome to the Other Side of Addiction podcast. Hey, we'd like to thank our platinum sponsor, Matter Behavioral Health, 265 State Street in Mount Pleasant. If you know somebody that is battling with addiction, these guys have a different way of dealing with it. They're a lot different than a lot of your other recovery centers. So reach out to them. You can contact them at 435-462-2781. Again, these guys are just phenomenal people. Love these guys. I am Al Richards. I am your host of The Other Side of Addiction, and I am here with the lovely Melody. Hi, Melody. How are you?
Hello. I'm doing great, Al.
Awesome. I love the great. A lot of people say good, but good's only heart level. What we learned, right?
That's right.
You got to be above that.
That's what we learned. I'm enjoying my time with you.
Yeah. Well, it's a pleasure having you here in the studio with us. And man, we have a really special guest with us today. Joni. Now, is it Einarson? Is that how you say your last name, Joni?
Einarson.
Either way. Okay. And so Joni and I met, and you've heard this on some of the other shows that we've done. There is a Facebook group that we are all a part of called A Tribe of Giants. And we were just talking before the show, how many phenomenal people are on this show or on that group. And it's people that have overcome a lot of crap in their life to actually stepped up to be giants. So I just want to share a little bit about Joni here. I got to get my face recognition so your bio pops up. So Joni is a seeker of connection, and a term she coined just recently after a conversation with my wife, Jeanette. Thank you very much. She is going to be thrilled to know this. Being what she refers to as a lifetime of divine or diving deep into the hearts of people, helping them understand what keeps them from having deep, authentic connection with self and others. This inspired her to become a certified health and life coach after overcoming both the physical and mental debilitating symptoms of Lyme disease. So I know Nicole Costello had Lyme disease as well.
Right, yeah.
And without the help of conventional medicine, and thriving through 24 years of an abusive marriage, she does this by sharing her stories so others will become empowered through sharing their own, which results in true connection. She knows that connection to self and others, as she has experienced, is to transcend to a place of pure joy that she hopes all will experience. You have so many key words seriously, you have so many key words in your bio. Just empowering within self, and before we get really deep into this, just share a little bit more about you, Joni. I mean, I'm not even for sure where you're from, and I should know that.
Well, I'm looking out at about 400 feet of snow. And when I say 400 feet, I'm almost not lying, because out the front door, you can't see the vehicles parked on the street as a result of how big our snowbanks are.
Oh my gosh.
But there are no polar bears, not here anyways. I'm in Winnipeg, Manitoba. I'm in the true Great White North.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
If you go to Minneapolis and then look straight up about 8 hours, that's where you'll find me.
So you got to look up for about 8 hours?
Yeah, you got to drive for 8 hours, but if you look up from a driving standpoint. So yeah, I live in Canada. I was born and raised in Ontario, and that's how I know Nicole, is through, actually Nicole also is a life and health coach, and she took the same courses that I graduated from at the same institute. And I also connected with her because of her Lyme disease. So her and I had a few things in common, and she's the reason why she introduced me to the Tribe of Giants. So again, that's something else that we have in common. And I thank you very much for your kind words that are very humbling about the bio. Your wife really inspired a lot of what I wrote. I sent a message to her. She had checked up on me, and I sent a message to her about, how I was sort of taking a break. I was doing some self-work. And she said, I was just checking up because I haven't seen any of your posts and so on and so forth. And I thought, wow, like that is so wonderful. She just reached out, which was, that's being vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
And I said to her, I'm not afraid of connection. I actually seek it. And she came back and she said, that's what keeps me sober. And I was like, what? It was like, wow. Like it was such like, I sat there with that for the longest time. I sat there just staring at her words. And it was like, wow, yeah, that's exactly it. She actually provided a huge breakthrough for me just in saying those words.
Wow.
So I'm extremely humbled by her.
Yeah. Since she's been sober, matter of fact, 15 months on March 9th, which is really, really cool. But she has become a whole different person. We have both changed in the many years that we've been together. And I went from a bad change to a good change. She went from a good change to a bad change. But now she's at an exceptional change right now. There's times I just look at her and I'm like, who the hell is this person? Because I mean, seriously, her connection. And when I first started noticing it is we were at a grocery store and we're sitting there waiting in line and I hear her talking and I turn around and look and she's talking to this lady that's standing behind us. The old her, no way in hell. No way would she strike up a conversation. And now I watch her when we go into a room or whatever, she sees somebody, she goes right up to them and starts talking to them. The old Janan, she would either be standing by my side or almost kind of behind me.
She's sociable. Yeah. I know that she's sociable.
She's just broken out of her shell, eh? Like she's just completely
her shell has definitely been broken. And she wasn't a big Facebook. She used to get on me for being on Facebook. Now I can't get her off of it. So she got on and she follows a lot of you guys from a tribe of giants, and especially you and Carrie and Nicole and Nick and Ryan, Melissa. I mean, if I sat and thought a lot, I can start thinking of the names. And
right,
she just loves it because all you guys are very inspirational for her as well, with a lot of your quotes and sayings.
I enjoy it as well.
Yeah.
I stay connected and watch. And I enjoy your wife's post, and I notice she enjoys mine as well.
Oh yeah.
I love connecting with them.
It's really the reciprocity, right? It's a circle, right? It's what we feel, what we give, what we receive, and there is no giving with the feeling of receiving. It just comes, and that's the beauty of that mirror effect. And those, you should never make assumptions. You should, never pass judgment. You should never take things personally. All these things that we think about in life, and that mirror of really, when you hear someone say something that really truly resonates with inside of you, it really touches your heart. That you're looking in the mirror.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, go ahead, Joni.
No, please go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, we actually heard that same thing on our first show this morning, looking in the mirror.
Oh yeah, we did. Yeah.
Yeah. From Kenny.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. He just mentioned that same thing. And I like that you said, Joni, how certain people will say things and it resonates with us. So when I came into the studio this morning, we're in a Richard Paul Evans building. Richard Paul Evans is the one that wrote The Christmas Box. I don't know if you've heard of the book. He's very well known here in Utah, but also around the world. A lot of people know who he is. He's doing this Christmas box thing where they have all these toys and everything inside here. I mean, you walk in here and it looks like a shopping center. But I met this beautiful young lady this morning. Her name was Salish. And we were chatting about some things, and she told me a saying that she really likes to use, and it resonated with me so much. And it goes, don't judge. Let me see. Don't judge me because my sins are different than yours. And I was like, oh my heck.
That's a big statement right there. She's saying we all have sin. It's just all different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So don't judge me. And And I really like that because,
and he who is not sinned may cast the first stone. Right.
And that's what I said to her. Yeah, it's the exact same thing.
And sometimes, depending upon who I'm standing next to, I go, I'm just going to, you just need to move over there a little bit, because if the stones start flying, I think there's going to be more on you than me. Or vice versa. You might want to inadvertently get hit by one of mine.
Yeah. Especially if you start seeing both of you separate.
Yeah, that's really, just because absolutely. And when I remember the first time I said to my husband at the time, I'm a sinner. And he said, oh, no, you're not a sinner. And he goes, I don't know anybody that's not. And I said, when you're a Christian, you know that you're a sinner.
Yeah.
So, no judgment. And that's really, we grow up, like, I'm just going to give you a little bit of my story. My father was a police officer, and I married a police officer. And I don't know, like, I'm a ferocious reader. Like, I read everything and anything. Like, I've often said to people, if I was left in a library alone, they wouldn't find me for decades.
That's great. Wow.
Because I start on a book and I'll be reading 5 books at a time. But I love to read. And I've done university courses in 2 weeks that are a year university course, because I'm just a ferocious reader. So I had a very strict upbringing. My father was a police officer, and as I said, I married a police officer. And my father ruled with a heavy fist and a leather belt. And it basically, we did as he said, and we didn't have a voice. What we were told to do, we did it. And there were 6 of us. And of the 6 of us, I'm the youngest, and I'm the one that always stood up to him.
Wow.
And my sisters still remind me of this, like, wow, do you remember the time? And yeah, you stood up to Dad. And I did. And I remember being 3 years old and standing up to my father. My first memory. Yeah, my first memory was I wandered off downtown to look for my sister, who went to get me blow bubbles, and I couldn't wait for her to come home. And my mother had bathed me. I was still in my underwear, and I went out the front door without her knowing, which I'd done a few times. Out the front door, down across some busy streets, down to the downtown, and I got picked up by the police. And the only thing I remember was sitting on the desk and having a roll of caramel chocolates. Those little chocolate Rolos, covered.
Yeah.
I still love them today because they bring back this memory of me sitting on this police officer's desk. But I didn't remember getting the beating when I got home.
Wow.
Remember the beating. So those things that, you block out. And so when I'm married, and, people have said to me, you're such a outgoing person. My most wonderful aunt said to me, you have this you're very free-spirited, and, I excelled in school. I excelled in sports. I ran for school vice president in grade 10 when nobody in junior ran for anything president, period. But I ran for vice president, and people always said that you're so outgoing. But I really lived in a box, because if I didn't follow the rules, because my father was the disciplinary, but he was also the one who showed love. So I learned to stay in that box. If I wanted to be loved and not getting the strap, I learned to stay in the box, but I still stood up to him because I wanted my voice to be heard. My father never heard our voice. And then I got into, I married a police officer, and I was taught that I was to be seen and not to be heard. And when I was seen, I had better been wearing the right jeans and the right top, and it better be low enough, and my hair better not be cut. And I was afraid to cut my hair. I remember one time I cut my hair and I actually put in a ponytail because I was so afraid of how angry he was going to be when he saw I cut my hair. Like,
wow,
that's what I lived in. And I learned to live in that because I wanted to be loved. So I didn't think I had an addiction. And I remember my brother saying to me after many things, like, Lyme disease is a horrible disease. And I struggled for a very long time, and I did absolutely everything to get well again. And even my son said to me one day, he goes, Mom, why are you taking all that stuff? Because it's not helping. And I said, did you just want me to give up? So the part of, being not heard by my husband repeatedly affirmed to me that I was not good enough.
Yeah.
Joni,
Yes.
I see myself in you. I actually went through that as well. And because of it, and that struggle of trying to keep who I am as an individual with someone else trying to have, control over me and not letting me do what I want and, dictating my every move and me wanting to feel accepted and loved. Yeah, I can very much relate with you in that. And I can see how strong we've had to be to even just be able to deal with what took place for us. We now have a strength, and it shows. It shows in our characteristic, I think, in our face and in our demeanor. And we're very serious in certain ways. When we speak, we mean what we say, right?
Well,
Because it's the
I
truth.
don't mince words usually with people. I believe that it's important for you to be able to verbalize how you feel, what you're thinking,
Yes.
how you're feeling, and not be judged for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that perfectionism was really my addiction. And I didn't think I had an addiction. And my brother had said to me, I'm so surprised you don't have an addiction with everything that you have been and are going through. And I thought, wow, that's great. I don't have an addiction. What I didn't realize was perfectionism was my addiction.
Yes.
It became what defined me. And I learned to sit in those feelings, Melody, that you obviously know very well, and many people do.
Mm-hmm.
I learned to sit alone. Really, and I still feel that pain, right? That
Yes. Mm-hmm.
really, yeah. You're alone, and you were told to be seen and not to be heard.
Yes. Yes. I actually secluded myself. I don't know if you actually went into a seclusion.
I didn't. I have this. I think it's just my personality.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm extremely strong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I as well. That's why I really see myself in you. But I think I was almost kind of forced to go into the seclusion, though. I was
Right.
like forced because, when you said, you can't be heard, you can maybe be seen, but you can't be heard. I wasn't allowed to have a voice. And, but then it came to the point where he didn't want to see me either. He just denied me completely as a wife because he felt that I wasn't enough, even though I was everything. And I made myself be everything. I was the perfect wife, the perfect mother. I kept my house perfect because it's what he required. But even then it wasn't enough. So is that something you experienced? What was your extent?
I really put on myself. Yes, absolutely. I really did put on myself. I was either being told how beautiful I was,
Mm-hmm.
or I was dealing with somebody whom he was having an affair with. So it was really, and there was a lot of gaslighting, and I would call him out on it. I would say to him, that's not what you did, and that's not what you said, and he would come back and say, I don't know where you heard that, because that's not what I said. And then I would reflect back on myself, and I would be like, okay, so did I not hear that? Like, that's the part of the gaslighting that is so bad, is that you really question.
Which is, it's a mental manipulative abuse is what that is.
Oh, truly. And,
Yeah.
when your voice is not being heard, and when, like, our marriage counselor said to him,
Mhm.
your wife tells you what she wants. Like, do you have any idea how lucky you are that she doesn't go around, saying what's wrong? Nothing. She just comes out and says, like, she's openly conversing with you, verbalizing what it is that she wants and needs. And why do you not hear her voice? But when it just kept being reaffirmed, because when you tell somebody what you want, and then they say to you, oh, you're back there again. Well, I never left.
Right. You're like, I've been here the whole time. Where have you been?
Right. And then that shaming feeling that, I wanted something, like, he would say to me all the time, like, look around, look at what you have, just be happy. But I wanted connection. I wanted connection with somebody who obviously was trained up to not be connected, and I'm not a police officer, and I'm speaking completely out of turn here. But they really are individuals that are told to get back in the saddle and suck it up, buttercup. And that was something that I kept being told, just suck it up, buttercup, just suck it up. And every time somebody dismisses your feelings, they reaffirm. Every single time he dismissed my feelings, no matter what it was about, even if it was, hey, can we stop at Home Depot? Because what do you need to stop at Home Depot for? What do you need? Can't you get it tomorrow? It's like, like everything was just a struggle.
So was it where it was okay, whatever he needed to do, but when it came to you, it was a whole different story?
His saying was, and I'm not blaming him. Trust me. I want to put a disclaimer in here.
Sure.
Everything that I went through has provided me with some amazing gifts.
Yeah.
And I tell you, I thank God every day. Something will come up and I'll go, thank you, Lord. Thank you for that lesson, because I've gained amazing gifts. But yeah, my brain kept hearing over and over again, you're not enough. And it just repeated. It was just on repeat. Those, people say the voice in your head. Somebody said to me, voices, because I think there's, more than one person living in your head at times. But yeah, I kept hearing that. And I'm an empath, and I'm a doer, and I'm a doer for others. Like, I love doing things for people. Like, I just, and so I just kept doing. I just kept doing and getting up and being happy and, doing my thing. And then I started making the realization that, hold on a second. I'm in the room, and I matter. And I really, truly matter. And when my son was born, I would have been married 28 years. It ended at 24. My son just turned 24. So 24 years ago, my son was born, and it was like, wow. Like, I was a businesswoman. People didn't get pregnant and have kids doing the business that I was in. I worked for Merrill Lynch. I worked for the largest investment firm in the world. I had a great career. Don't be having kids, right? This kid came into the world, and I'm like, wow, this is it. Like, this is really what it's all about. Do you have children, Melody?
I do. I have 3. How many children do you have?
2.
You have 2. 2 sons, daughter and a son. What do you have?
I have $1 million family. I got one of each. $1 million plus.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. So were you a peace officer back then too, when all this was taking place for you?
Was he? No, I was in the investment industry, and I was married to a police officer.
Oh, okay. You were in the, that's great industry.
So question for you. When you said that you were feeling like you just didn't matter, did you find yourself at all like sabotaging different things because you felt like you didn't matter? And the reason why I'm asking this, Joni, is because Jeanette has felt that way all her life. She was picked on when she was a kid. And as she got into relationships, she got in, it sounds like almost the same type of relationships that you two ladies were in. She was always told that she was worthless, that she was no good. And she always did things wrong. When we got together, and I'm not saying this to toot my own horn, but she's like, I finally met a guy that finally respects me and treats me the way I deserve to be treated.
Mm-hmm.
But she felt so crappy about herself. She did everything she could to sabotage our relationship, even though that was exactly the type of relationship she was looking for. And she found herself being with the same type of men, you know, and it, just what little you shared about your father at the beginning of this, and then what you were sharing about your husband, it's almost like it was that same person. But did you find yourself like sabotaging things? Because I mean, you said
No.
you were a go-getter. So
No, I wasn't. You know, I got up every day and I put my makeup on. I cared for myself. I did. People look like I would have friends that would look at me, or people that didn't know me. I shouldn't call them friends. Like on the baseball field, I would show up and I would be dressed to the nines because I worked in an office and I was expected that, you know, if you want the part, you got to look the part, right? That was always my saying. But I'm a jean person. Like I love my jeans. I got a tattoo on my shoulder. You know, I'm a really kind of chill hippie kind of person. But I looked at that part and I remember somebody saying to me one day, like, I used the F word, and they're like,
how dare you?
and I was like, oh,
how dare you be comfortable?
Yeah, like I never expected that word would ever come out of your mouth. Like you seem so like, and I'm like, oh Lord, the suit does it, doesn't it? I've always been myself, and I've never played the role of being anybody but me. Like when my kids were growing up, I remember saying to my kids, if you can't be who you can be, who can you be? Who can you be? Right? If you can't be you, who can you be? Just be you, like just be, be who you are, right?
Absolutely.
So but I got reprimanded for that too. Not to toot my own horn, sorry, Al, but I was the first woman in Manitoba to have her driver's license suspended for speeding infractions, and I married a cop.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So, you should have a plaque for that.
Right. Then I got diplomatic because every time I got pulled over, I'm like, oh, this is who I'm married to. But if I told a story about, my Trans Am with a 404 speed in it and, the stuff I used to do in it, and we'd get home from a party, like he would be laughing at the party, but we'd get home from the party and it was like living, like, I don't know if you guys have seen that movie, Living with the Enemy, or
yes,
Sleeping with the Enemy. Yeah,
Sleeping with the Enemy.
Oh yeah, that was
that's who he was. And I started seeing glimpses of him in movies. I was like, ooh, that's how he is, right? And it's interesting how they like, you don't even see yourself, and you don't see the other person, right? Because you're standing so close to them, right?
Yeah.
But I would get reprimanded. Oh, I would get severely reprimanded for having told that story, because he would say to me, do you have any idea how bad that makes you look? I'd be like, okay. So just being me, I couldn't be me. I have to be very careful about, what I said, and that made it difficult. But, I shared so little in common with him. Like we'd go out for dinner and I'd be sitting there thinking like, I can talk to anybody anywhere. Like I'm like, Jan, like I'll be anywhere. I don't, when I meet people, they're not strangers to me. I don't know what it is, but I don't know strangers. I just talk to everybody, and I'm outgoing. And like one of my bosses said to me one time, you can work a room like I've seen nobody work a room. And I'm not working a room. I'm just talking to people. I'm just being myself. But I would sit there with him and go, I got nothing to talk about. Like there was no connection because he would not be vulnerable. On our anniversary, we were sitting there one time and he says to me, like he's questioning me. And then, I sat back and I looked at him and I said, I feel like I'm in the.
Oh, did we lose you? Oh, there you go. You came back. What was it that you said you froze up?
I was being interrogated by him.
Yeah.
My connection okay?
Yeah. Can you not hear us?
No, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay.
I just had this little unstable connection.
I found that when one doesn't want to be vulnerable, that it's a fear that they have.
Amen. Absolutely. I believe you're bang on.
Mm.
And somebody said to him one time, she's your crown and glory.
Mhm,
I was
mhm. Yeah, because you have all those characteristics and everything probably that he doesn't have.
And I believe that that's where the narcissism came from, because if he kept me where he wanted me to be, then he never had to worry about losing me. But he
Yes.
having an affair after an affair. And then the last affair that he had, I just said, I'm done.
You're just so right.
It does sound like a little bit about your story.
Yeah.
Because I know a little bit about it, but yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just, I was really tired of being raw all the time. I was tired of being dismissed. I was tired of not feeling a connection with somebody, the person who I was married to. I didn't want to play the games anymore. And the last time I found out about the affair that he was having, which I figured out on my own, my daughter had actually seen it on his screen, and she was really upset with me. And she questioned me about it. So then he's like, what's up with Avery? Why isn't she, being nice to me? And I said, I think you should explain to her why another woman's icon is popping up on your phone.
And that affected her.
Right. And I was really calm about it because so many things had happened with regards to how he was treating the kids prior to that. Please forgive me, but it was just the icing on the cake for all of us. So, in that moment, it
seems like you almost had to, just learn to be that diplomat, because I know I did. So after all this stuff you'd already went through with him, there was just a point where you just learned how to deal with it differently than what you were in a more mature way.
I was doing all the work.
Yeah, right.
I would. Right. So my son was born, and I went to a counselor, and I got counseling. I grew up in a very strict household, and my voice was not heard, and I had issues, and I wanted to deal with these things. I remember my sister saying to me, "Why are you dragging all this stuff up?" And I said, "Because I don't want it to control me. I want to control it." Wow. So yes. Yeah. So, I even my parents came into town, and, Ethan was just a baby, and I got up in the Monday morning and I was heading to my appointment, and my husband looked at me and he goes, "Where are you going?" And I'm like, "To therapy." He goes, "Well, you're on holidays." And I said, "You don't take holidays from therapy." "I'm going." Right. So, I was reading all these books, and then, he had gone and picked up a book at a Christian store for me, and he came home with another book, and it was about men being wild, and what men needed. And so being a ferocious reader, right, I read my book, he goes away for the week and he comes back, and I read his book too. And he's like, so what do you think? And I said, I think you should read the book.
Okay.
And then I brought home the book, The Shack. And I was really excited to read it. It was a Friday night. I went in and had my ritual bath, and I came out, and he's laying on the bed and he's reading the book. And I'm like, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Oh, this is a really good book." And I said, "Yeah, I bought it for me. Give me my book." Right? Jokingly, but I wanted to. Yeah. So the next morning I wake up and he's laying on the couch and he's reading the book. And I'm like, "What are you doing?" He goes, "This is a really good book." And I said, "Yeah, it is. Give me my book. I want to read my book." Right? I'm pretty territorial about my book.
You're right? Like, wait a minute.
So, and he read it like 3 or 4 times. But when I literally walked out the door, there were so many horrific things that happened that are very traumatic. I had to have, actually, internal affairs were the ones that put the protection order on him. And in the end, and that was the second protection order you put on him. And I said to the internal affairs police officers, who were obviously like colleagues of my husband's, right? And they were walking me out to my vehicle. And they said, I hope you understand that this is something that has to be done because of the history here. And I said, Jason is tied to a truck and he's being dragged down a dirt road and he's driving the truck.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
And these two guys looked at each other and went, yeah, that's a really good analogy.
Mm-hmm.
I would have loved my husband to the end of the earth. And I did everything I could to love him to the end of the earth. And I remember, waking up in the middle of the night one night and I was doing something and I was like, wow, I used to do that. Like, I don't do that anymore, but I used to do that. And that must have driven him crazy. So being a shift worker, I went downstairs, I woke him up and I said, hey, 3:30 in the morning, lights come on. Hey, you know what? I used to do this. Like, that must have just driven you crazy. I said, I'm really sorry that I did that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And he's looking at me like, oh, okay. Good morning. We have this conversation now. But I really accountable, but accountability to the degree of like, I was being accountable for everybody. And I had a 747 and it was filled with everybody else's baggage. And I remember saying to my therapist, like, I got to unload this.
Mm-hmm.
Like all this stuff that I'm like dragging around behind me, and I keep saying to my kids, when it's about baggage, it's, you show up at the airport, you brought one bag, your buddy brought three. You don't pick up one of his bags.
Oh, I like that.
You help him with the cart, you can help him load the cart, but he brought 3 bags. He's pushing that cart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? Be accountable for yourself, but don't, that codependency. And when my husband said to me one morning, years and years ago, he says to me, oh, you're back in that mood again. I'll just wait a couple of days and be back to your normal self. And I went, oh, I've created this. I created this codependency by just continuing to let it go and forgive him and let him go, let it go. And not that I didn't have things to forgive him for, obviously, but yeah. And it was, there was too much water under the bridge. I would have stayed with him to the end of the earth, but he did not choose forgiveness for me. He did not choose forgiveness. I don't know if he chose it for himself or not, but he told me he turned his life over to God, which is why I stayed with him, even though, and then when another woman came into his life, it was like, okay, I'm calling Uncle here. And he said to me, let's be broken together. And I said to him, I've asked the Lord to release me.
Because you come to that point where you know that you have to, that you come to that point. Yeah.
Right. And I literally like slammed my fist down on the counter when I was walking out the door that day. And I said to him, Jesus died on the cross to forgive us for our sins, but he only forgave you. He didn't forgive anybody else.
Absolutely. Though you gave your love and you gave and didn't get the same respect back. That's what I went through as well. And, a lot of people say, well, just don't keep loving like you do. And I'm like, well, that's not the answer, because love is the answer to the universe. So
no, it's not.
I'm going to keep loving.
Just keep loving.
I'm not going to stop loving. That's who I am. I was born that way.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to keep doing that. If someone else chooses not to love back, well, that's on them.
That's right.
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing about, what other people's behavior, it defines who they are, not who you are. But we are as equally responsible for our actions as we are our reactions.
Yeah.
And when I heard my minister say that, I was like, oh, hold on a second here. Right? Because and that's the laws of the earth and of nature, right? For every action, reaction. I knew that when I looked into my son's, when I looked into that kid's eyes, I said, yeah, you know what? I have some work to do. I'm going to do this work. And my counselor said to me, everybody around you is going to benefit from this. And I wanted everybody to benefit from it. But unfortunately, I never played the blame game. However, I was blaming myself and I didn't know it.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know it.
Yeah, we have a tendency to not see.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that. And I carry that around with that perfectionism, right? If just I get this done, if this is perfect, if my house is, if my hair is, if my clothes are, if my kids are, if and wow, and I gave grace and I was humbled and forgiving to other people, but not for me. I didn't give myself that.
When I look back and I think about all that I did and all I took care of, and I'm just like, wow, you're one amazing lady.
Superwoman.
I'm serious. I'm like,
Wonder
wow.
Woman, right?
Yeah, and I had my own business too. I was an antique dealer. I had my own business. I mean, I was bringing in good money. I mean, towards the end there, no, I was kind of more in seclusion. I didn't have the business anymore. My whole life changed. I ended up divorced. It's a whole big story, drama story. But
I get it.
yeah, I know you do. But yeah, I kind of lost my train of thought. But oh yeah, when I think back, I'm like, geez, I'm amazing. How could he not think I was perfect? I really was, and I still am.
Well, that there's a song out there. It's a Christian song, I Am Enough.
Oh, that's a good song.
And I had to pull over one day because I kept looking at this woman that he was with, and I thought, what does she have that I don't have? What is it? What is it? Like, what did I do wrong? What didn't I do? What could I have done better? When we love people, we love without judgment. When we do something for someone and they come back and say, well, I did that for you. Well, did you do it for you or did you do it for me? Because you didn't feel guilty about it.
Yeah.
That's not love, right? And I was bad for that. I used to, I wasn't getting, so I would say, even to my kids, well, I did that for you. So why are you not helping me out? And I would get mad. I would get upset. And I made the realization that was not love. That was not love. That's a narcissistic behavior. I saw that in myself. I had to call myself out on that. And, I love that saying with Brené Brown, and I got to just refer to my notes here, but how she says, if you don't own your own story, and live in it, if you don't own it, then you're always going to be hustling for your worthiness. And I hustled hard. Like I hustled so hard, right? And you have to hustle because we are, as you said earlier, when people say enough, no, we're more than enough. Everyone
you know what makes me feel like, okay, not perfect, but a perfect person is that I strive. I strive to be the best person that I can be. I strive to treat other people the way that I want to be treated. I make those efforts to take care of my family, to be there for my friends, to take care of my responsibilities, take care of myself. I feel like that is one great individual.
I had a really great breakthrough yesterday with Nick from the Tribe of Giants. When you do as much as you have done and as much as you do, and I started making the realization that I needed to just do, to let go of the thought of doing, to let go of what I've done and what I deserve as a result of what I've done. I started doing this where I just was just doing. I think that naturally, especially being females, and sorry, Al, but I know that there are
it's okay. I'm in touch with my feminine side, so it's all right.
But when when I talk about the transcendence, like that whole feeling, when I have a conversation with somebody and you're present and you're being like, you're just there and everything else around just disappears. It's like the whole world just falls away. You're just present. And that vulnerability, in telling one story, my office door was never, I'm surprised I even had a job, because my office door was a revolving door. And I moved from a couple of different firms after Merrill, and that revolving door continued to happen. People were always in my office and they would say to me, "Oh, you missed your calling." Just being present and talking to them about, yeah, I know that feeling, I did that too, or, geez, that happened to me. In telling each other, telling our stories, people, felt comfortable to be able to just be who they are without that sense of judgment, without that sense of, having to hide behind the veil of perception. And that's where the real true connection comes, is there's no agenda. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And everybody should feel like they should be able just to be themselves, and
but they don't. But Melody, they don't. And what? Thank you for hitting that. And the reason why I'm so thankful that you've hit that is because when I talked, earlier about the seeking, right? The seeker of connection. That when you're really connecting with someone, like when you're deeply connecting with someone, there is that's a drug. It's intoxicating to have those type of relationships. And those relationships that I have honed, like I say all the time, I'm so blessed to have these amazing relationships with people.
I agree, but I never saw it like that it is like a drug, because it is, because you're connecting. Like you're connecting with that person, and it doesn't matter what you do. And it's healing.
It doesn't matter what you've done for them or what you haven't done for them. It doesn't matter whether the cookies are baked or the dinner is made. Like you're just being present. You're just being present. And
just being there.
Right. And most people cannot, that's not the right word, sorry. It's difficult for people to be vulnerable.
Yes, it is.
They'll say.
Very, very difficult.
I think they're afraid of getting hurt. If they open up, that they won't be accepted for who they are.
It's the judgment. That's what it is. It's it's the judgment.
Yeah.
That's
and that fear. So fear follows.
Yeah. If we could, let's stop for a quick break, commercial break. So guys, stay tuned. We will be right back with some more amazing stuff from Joni.
Okay, we'll see you in a minute, Joni.
Thank you, Melody. Thank you, Al.
Do you or a loved one or someone you know struggle with addiction?
Have you lost hope, or are you struggling to make connections?
Have you been to other treatment programs and have yet to reach your full potential?
We are Matter Behavioral Health. At Matter Behavioral Health, we understand substance abuse treatment works best when the client is taught ways of identifying for themselves their own dysfunctional views of their life that trigger their self-limiting beliefs and leads back to addiction.
We help you get to the core of what's causing your addiction.
We offer inpatient and outpatient services. To find out what's best for you, call us at 435-462-2781. That's 435-462-2781.
Don't wait, give us a call. Your life depends on it. Call us at 435-462-2781.
Have you ever been in a car accident? Do you know what to do after being in a car accident? Are the insurance companies going to take care of you? Hi, I'm attorney Rick Heaton with the Law Office of Bobby Udall. I will help you through the process and answer all of these questions. I give every single client my cell phone so they can talk to me whenever they need. Let me deal with the insurance company so you can focus on getting better from your injuries. Call me at 385-330-0226. Again, my cell phone number, 385-330-0226. Don't call the insurance company first. Call attorney Rick Heaton at 385-330-0226.
Hello, my friends. This is Brad Neufeld, and I want to thank you for tuning in to the Resilience Talk Network. You can listen to my show, Resilience, every morning, Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. On my show, we will be discussing what it takes for you to overcome the day-to-day challenges that all of us face in life, as well as some of the devastating ones that may lead us to feelings of hopelessness and despair. It's my goal to provide you with the tools and skills that you need to overcome anything that is thrown your way. To find out more about my show, visit our website at www.resiliencetalk.com. That's www.resiliencetalk.com. And as always, until we meet again, go for everything that you want in life and make it happen.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the other side of addiction. Again, we would like to thank our platinum sponsor, Matter Behavioral Health. These guys are flipping awesome. Hey, we also want to say thank you to our special guest, Joni. I'm really liking this. I'm just like a fly on the wall right now. I'm just sitting here listening to you ladies. I mean, just some great information. And right before we went on our break, we were discussing vulnerability. I just made one little small comment about a lot of people are afraid to do that because they are afraid of being judged. And I mean, myself, I've been that way as well. It just here recently, watching my wife go through her addiction and coming out of her shell and being vulnerable, I'm like, well, hell, if she can do it, it's about time I start doing it, because I was also afraid of what people were going to think. I was also afraid of what people were going to think of her when she was in her addiction. But during the break, you two ladies was sharing some really good stuff. And I hope you can remember what it was, because I kept thinking, man, time out. We got to save this for when we come back.
Well, let's say I had mentioned to you that, I now kind of, have this tendency to sabotage having, a close relationship with males, because I have that fear that they will want to try to control me now, because that's really all I've known from a man. So, and we were tapping on that.
What was the ball? You guys were saying something about a ball.
Remember the game Dodge the Ball when we were kids?
Oh yeah, I was saying I dodged
that's what it was. I loved that game.
Yeah, Dodge the Ball. And it was fun to be the person who had to dodge the ball, but it wasn't fun, especially if the teacher picked up the ball, and because he or she would throw it 10 times harder than one of your classmates could. Or if like 3 or 4 balls were coming at you at one time, because everybody's like, hey, we've got to get her, and get on you. And I use that analogy of dodge the ball because when there's a trigger, when we get triggered, we want to dodge the ball. When someone says or does something that hurts us, they hit the trigger. The trigger is our best friend because the trigger tells us what's going on within ourselves. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't be dodging the ball. We shouldn't be, I shouldn't be saying what we should or shouldn't be doing. That trigger is what tells us what's going on within ourselves. Mm-hmm. And knowing or having a better understanding, not knowing, but having a better understanding of that trigger and allowing it to just be. It is what it is, right? This last week, I had someone say to me, "I'm disappointed in you, Joni."
Oh, wow.
So when you hear those, so Melody, I'm going to just ask you if you don't mind. When you hear those words, what's the first thing that comes to mind? I'm just going to say this to you. I'm disappointed in you, Melody.
For what? What's there to be disappointed in? Explain, please.
Right. So this person texted this.
Mm-hmm.
It's even worse, right? Because then there's no conversation. And yeah, and the question that follows normally is, what did I do? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Or what? What I found was that it triggers something. I had disappointed somebody, right? I heard the words, I disappointed somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa. So, that put me back on my butt. Like I was like, what did I do? Like I disappointed him. Like, what did I do? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Through the logical thought process, we say to ourselves, okay, well, I don't remember what I've done, or I don't know what I've done.
Mm-hmm.
This person's not willing to have a conversation around it with me. So what choices, do I have, right? When you're in a conversation and you're being vulnerable with somebody, there's something that I've coined the blame game, the game that nobody ever wins.
Mm-hmm.
And when there's a difference, right? When something comes up and somebody has a difference of opinion, to get curious around, why did you do that? If that person had come to me and said, hey, this happened, why did you do that? Right? I got curious around, I did something, what did I do? So when you get curious and you become in that place of having a conversation where you can be vulnerable, the only way a person can be vulnerable is if the other person is getting curious.
Mm-hmm. If
I didn't want you to eat that bar that you were given by Brad, if I said to you, don't eat that bar, and you're like, oh, yeah, I'm going to eat that bar.
Mm-hmm.
If your response was, why do you not want me to eat the bar?
Yeah.
Right? Like, why don't you want me to eat the bar?
Mm-hmm.
Because I heard that those bars are really bad for your teeth, and you got beautiful teeth, and I don't want to see you with your teeth. And you'd be like, oh, hey, you care about me, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when I say to you, don't eat that bar,
mm-hmm.
our first response is just like, I'm disappointed in you, right? Is like, huh? Whoa, wait, no, hold, you don't get to be disappointed. What are you talking about? I didn't do something. I didn't do anything. It becomes the defensiveness. Right?
Yeah.
You start having.
You become defensive.
Right. But why do you become defensive? I'm just saying to you, don't eat that candy bar. And you're like, hell yeah, I'm going to eat this candy bar.
Yeah. Rebellious and defensive.
I'll show you.
Yeah, I'm going to eat this candy bar.
But if we get curious about it, because it's a big candy bar, I'm eating it.
And if you're nice, I'll give you a bite.
Right. And it's so like the four horsemen in relationships and in having good relationships where vulnerability can reside.
And that's how it should be. Exactly how you said. It should be able to be like that. And, that's what I hope for one day, that we can actually have, me and whoever I'm with can conversate like that. But, the relationship I was in, there was no such thing.
But you're not in that relationship anymore.
I know. I'm so grateful.
But you're still feeling like you are, though. That's what I'm gathering. Because of what you just said earlier about the relationship with the guys, you are actually, you've been single, what did you say, 4 years?
Yeah,
but you're still in that same relationship.
But it's true. Mm-hmm. And it's something that I have been trying to work on for the longest time, in being able to trust, another person.
It falls back. So I dealt with a lot of crap with Janen's drinking.
Mm-hmm.
And when I let her back underneath my roof again, we talked about triggers earlier.
Mhm.
Joni did.
Mm-hmm.
There were so many different triggers. And that trust factor, I mean, every time she called me,
Mm-hmm.
I was like listening to every word she said to see if she was slurring her words. You know, if she went outside to go have a cigarette, when she came back in, I was doing everything I could to see if I could smell her breath, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and it's taken me quite a few months to finally start giving that trust. But then my light bulb went off. I started going, she's not the problem.
That's right. She's not the problem. Al.
I'm
Okay.
the problem.
You are definitely the problem. You're definitely
I'm the problem.
What a good, oh my head.
Yeah. And
Breakthrough.
I was just sitting on the couch one day, and there was something going on, and those triggers started coming and my thoughts started kicking in, and they started gaining speed. And it was literally like if an animal ran in front of your vehicle and you just hit the brakes.
Yeah.
And I went, and she even looked at me, she goes, "What's wrong? What am I doing wrong?" And I'm like,
exactly
nothing. It's me. I'm what's doing wrong. And she's like,
Wow.
what do you mean? I'm like, it's me. It's not you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's in here, what I'm perceiving out here. It's not real.
Mm.
So yeah.
But
This has given me a good
You're making it real
breakthrough.
in your head, Al.
What's that?
You were making it real in your head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
I
were-
was.
You were running a tape of reality in your brain,
Mhm.
through your perception, and what you were doing is you were projecting that onto her,
Yeah.
and she was picking it up.
Yeah. She was picking it up. Yeah.
Not her garbage.
No.
That's your
No.
garbage.
Well, and the same thing happened a couple of weeks. Well, it took a little bit because when she first came back in the house, her brain, I mean, we thought for sure she had wet brain. She couldn't talk, she couldn't walk. But as she started coming around, she came up to me once and she goes, "You've changed, babe." Like, "What do you mean I've changed?"
Mhm.
And she goes, "There's something different about you. You've changed." And she was right. I changed because I was doing everything I could at that time to basically say, you know what? I'm probably going to get hurt again, but this time I'm not going to allow it to happen. So I jumped on the train, and she even said, "It's almost like you're moving on with your life without me." And I said, "You know what? I am." And she goes, "So you don't want me in your life?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I want you in my life." I said, "You can either jump on the train with me,
Mhm.
or you can stay behind and do the same damn shit you've always been doing. It's your choice."
Wow.
And our relationship started changing because she was feeling it, just like what Joni was saying.
Mhm.
She was feeling whatever energy that was going on there. And it's really helped the both of us. I mean, it really has.
That's like reverse psychology, but you had to see it for yourself first. You had
Yeah.
to see, oh gosh, that's amazing.
As a life coach, Joni, or
Yeah.
how do you see this?
It's what you're choosing. I had a date with my boyfriend. I showed up at the restaurant. I was an hour late. He had been drinking. We were supposed to go to this restaurant for dinner. I come in, I sit down, yada, yada, yada. Quite evidently, we were not going to have the romantic evening that I was anticipating. And yeah, there you go. See, a woman who wants the romantic evening. And we, because he was already inebriated, which is fine. It's fine. You can have a few drinks. I mean, he wasn't falling down, drunk. Don't get me wrong, but he had had a few drinks, and that's not the type of evening I had planned. I wanted to have a few drinks with him, which is fine, but I wanted to go home and I wanted to be intimate with him.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I don't want to go home intimate with somebody who's not
Not there.
had too many to drink. Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
who wants that?
So, okay, exactly.
know?
So, which is okay. Now I made a choice, Melody.
Mhm.
Here's the
Okay.
difference. So, I'm a little bit miffed.
Mhm.
And we go to get in the vehicle to go to the restaurant to have our dinner. And I know that I'm miffed. And I'm driving, as I'm driving, I go to turn left and I almost hit a pedestrian. I literally, the guy had to go, whoa. Right. And I'm like, holy shit, right? Oh, damn. Right. And I'm like, oh man, I'm so sorry. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wheel in front of the restaurant, and, I could have easily said at that point, what I did say was, I said, you know what, this night's really is done. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't even feel like going into this restaurant. We've only got an hour to eat. I don't want to rush. You know what? I don't want to do this. And I drove away. And like, he was in the car still. I mean, I drove away. Didn't even sound. I knew he wasn't in the car. I could have easily said, you know what? I am so pissed off at you. And, I almost just hit someone. Why couldn't you? I could have done all of that stuff. And
Sure.
rightfully so. I could have said, like, you really screwed up, buddy, and you wrecked our night. And I almost just hit someone, and because I'm so upset with you. No, you know what? I almost hit someone because I wasn't watching.
Mm-hmm.
That's my fault. Nobody else can blame for that. I'm behind the wheel. I'm driving. That's on me.
Mm-hmm.
So go back to the parking lot, to his vehicle, and I just said to him, have a good night. And I wasn't mad. I wasn't angry. It just is what it is. The night didn't work out. Let it go, man. Like, seriously.
Yeah, because losing ourselves, it isn't worth it. It doesn't fix anything. It does. There's no
Right.
point in it. It just upsets you.
So when I left there, I had wanted to go to this one place that night to pick up a bottle of gin, because they make gin here in Winnipeg. And I wanted to go there to pick up a bottle. And I wheeled off and I went to this bar to pick up a bottle. I ordered myself a pizza online, picked up my food, and I had a long drive home. I was living out in the country then, and I drove home. And the next day he came out. We talked about it. He came out, and we were sitting there, and he sees a bottle of gin there, and he looks at me and he goes, did you go out without me? And I'm like, well, I went to Patton at 5 and picked up myself a bottle of gin. Yeah. And he goes, well, I told you I had picked up a bottle when I was there earlier. And I'm like, last night. And I'm like, so did you want me to come back to your apartment and say, hey, by the way, can I get that bottle of gin now? Like, I'm just going to go get my own bottle of gin because I'm going to take care of me, and went and got my food because I'm hungry, and I took care of me, and I went home. And I wasn't mad at him. I wasn't mad at myself. I wasn't mad at anything. Just happened. Let it go.
Right.
So if I want to walk around picking it up and carrying it around, like, putting it in my backpack, so I can take it out and use it as weaponry later. No, stop. The stonewalling, the contempt, the defensiveness, the criticism. Every time you're in a conversation with someone, if you start getting defensive and you start criticizing them, or you start stonewalling them, or you get that feeling of contempt, you're done. You're done.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Janan's sponsor likes to tell her all the time, just stay on your side of the street.
There you go.
Stay in your own lane.
Yeah,
Stay in your own lane.
That's the term I use.
Yep.
And whatever that person does, right? Whether it's someone whom you're dating, if it's your mom, your brother, the neighbor, whoever, whatever it is that they're doing, that's on them. Our healthy boundaries is to say to someone, when you say to me, don't eat that, that makes me feel I'm asking you not to do that. There, okay. So guess what? Now you've told that person that this is something that's not good for you, and that you would appreciate them not doing that. If they really truly care about you, they'll be cognizant of it now. They might snip up, they might do it, right? But don't say it around.
One thing that I learned, and it took me, I'm a slow learner. It took me 7 years to figure it out, is while Janan was working on getting sober, I was working on me as well, and working on how I communicated with her. I threw a lot of stuff at her in all those years, especially in the depth of her drinking, where I made her feel like crap. I belittled her like I was, and she told me many times, it's like, you just think you're on this pedestal above me. And I'm like, no, I don't. But as I started going back and thinking, I'm like, she was 100% correct. I was putting myself on a pedestal because she was the one that was battling addiction.
Yeah, we have a tendency to do that.
I was doing everything I could to help her, but I wasn't even helping myself. So what I started doing is I started using the I statements. So instead of going, every freaking time you do this. So I'm throwing the dagger at her to where I went, you know, when these actions happen, this is how I feel. I wasn't throwing it at her. I was just saying, this is how I feel.
You owned it.
I owned it. And gosh, I almost started getting emotional there. She started doing the same thing. We got to where we were just like freaking two yap dogs just barking at each other over some of the most stupidest shit, to where we both started using those I statements. Or if I started acting a different way, she goes, you know, when this happens, this is how it makes me feel. And those light bulbs started going off to where, wow, I don't want her to feel this way. And she wasn't blaming me. So there's no reason for me to put up my wall, you know.
That's how it should be, though. That's how a relationship should be. Both of you be vulnerable. But if one person isn't willing to be vulnerable and there isn't that communication there and expressing of feelings and how you feel in an adult way, it's hard to resolve anything. You are the one carrying that baggage.
Yeah.
If you go in with the thought process of winning, everybody's losing.
Yeah. The blame game. You said it early. Blame game. Nobody wins.
Yeah.
I would really love to. I don't even say it because I'm going to make this game and I'm going to put it in all the schools across the country to get people to have students, you know, play the blame game, and it's the one that nobody wins. And I just want to touch on something that, you know, we have spent a lifetime hustling, you know, doing and saying what other people want. You know how that saying is, you're always listening. You're not listening, but you're just waiting to respond. You know, that's truly not listening. I get that. And that was a big lesson for me, still is. But because we want to hustle, right? We want to say the right thing. We want to do the right thing. We want to be accepted. And that's a part, you know, the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You know, there's, you know, food, shelter, water, you know, acceptance, love, like, you know, it's all right there. It's what we need as human beings. And none of us are an island. You know, we think that we're either a giver or a taker. We're both. We are definitely both. And we have different points in time, points in the day, whatever it be. We are definitely there to be givers and takers. We can graciously give, but we also need to open our arms in order to receive. And to open arms to receive makes you vulnerable, because, you know, if you open up your arms and you hold them up, look at yourself. You're wide open. People can just shot at that. And that's how we feel. And we spend this lifetime, like, our behaviors and our beliefs, you know, those tapes that go on in our brain. Somebody, like when you say to somebody, I'm disappointed in you, you know, saying to my kids, I'm disappointed in your behavior. My girlfriend taught me that one. I'm not disappointed in you. I'm disappointed in your behavior. I love you, but what you're doing right now is making me really angry. And if you don't stop that, mommy is going to get mad. I get a forewarning here.
Right.
But we've had that, you know, I didn't want my kids playing dodge the ball with me. You know, when stuff goes down, turning a chair around and sitting down and looking at someone and saying, hey, you're really angry. What's going on? Well, the last time my husband threw shit in the house, I stood there and did not react to any of it. And he broke one of my most precious belongings. And I didn't react to it. I just stood there. And when he was done, he just looked at me and I said, I get it. You're hurting. You're in pain. I get it. I wasn't reacting with, what are you doing breaking my stuff? Like, no. Right. I saw him. I saw past myself. I saw him. We have all of these layers of rubble that have been piled on top of us from what people have said to us and have done to us, that we go around blaming other people for. That's the reaction. Or, do you know what she did? Well, that's why I said that to her. Well, that's justified. No, it's not.
Yeah.
When we look for, and when you're having a conversation with someone, if you keep saying to yourself, when that defensiveness comes up and you feel like you're being criticized, and you stop yourself and you say, I'm just going to get curious about this. I really want to know what they're feeling. I really love this person and I want to resolve with them. I want to resolve within myself and I don't want to feel these feelings. So tell me, what do you mean by that? Because this is what I heard you say. When you said this, what it computed back in my brain was this. Is that what you meant?
Mhm.
Right? So getting the clarification on what it is. So if you don't want me to eat the candy bar because I put weight on,
Mhm.
I just heard you say I'm fat. And I don't like you telling me that I can't eat this candy bar because I'm okay. I'll be the that, right?
Right.
And if they are saying that, if that's what they're trying to say to you, then they shouldn't be saying that because now they're passing judgment on you.
Right.
But if we allow them to pass judgment on us,
Mhm.
because it doesn't matter what other people say and do, at the end of the day, you have no control over that. How it makes you feel is on you.
No, I learned that as well. I did learn that, and but it was a hard road to learn that.
But thank
It,
God.
it took a long time for me to see that, you know.
So the person sitting in front of you, no matter who they are and in what part of the relationship or what type of relationship, a close relationship or, one that you've just begun with somebody, we're just supposed to let it flow. Like if we already have an agenda, if we already have formulated in our mind that it's going to go one way or the other, it's probably going to go one way or the other.
Yeah.
If you just let it flow forever where it's going to go. And if you trust yourself to know that the person who is sitting in front of you, that their behavior, it's like the mirror, you either feel that warmth and that feeling of being open and vulnerable with that person. You either have that mirror intuitively, you already know intuitively whether or not that person is a part of your tribe or there's someone who you should keep at arm's length.
Well, and as an empath as well as you, I could feel that. So, when I would go out on dates, I could feel it. I just knew that wasn't my person.
Right.
Not that necessarily that wasn't a good person,
Just wasn't your person. And there's nothing wrong
just
with
not
that.
mine.
Yeah.
And that's okay to say, you know what, I really enjoyed our evening, this evening. Thank you very much for the drink or the coffee or whatever. And then when they say, I'd like to call you again, just say, I'm flattered that you want to call me again. I just don't think that this is going to work for me.
That's so,
and you don't have
that's
to
such an adult way to do it. That's, yeah.
Yeah, there doesn't have to be an explanation. And if that person gets upset or angry, that's on them. Well, why is it? I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling an attraction here. Right? And nobody has to feel bad about that. But it's amazing how many people, especially empaths, right?
Yes.
That feel bad letting somebody know that they're not our tribe.
Well, and I think a lot of the reason why is because we can feel what they're feeling. We can feel when, if they're sad or they're disappointed, like we take that on.
But we shouldn't. It's not our.
No, we shouldn't. And
Amen.
That's another thing I had to learn is not to allow someone else's feelings, their energy, what's going on with them to affect me. And for the longest time, I didn't even know I was an empath. I did not even realize it. So I didn't know how to protect myself from that. And then I had a mentor that did she did an evaluation on me because she's like, I'm pretty sure you're an empath. And I'm like, empath? Okay. And I was just off the charts.
Yeah, so you absorb other people's energy really well. So that's a gift, and it can be a curse. It depends on which way you want to flip it.
Well, I think it's a curse if you don't know how to handle it, how to use it, and how to protect yourself, and what to allow and what those boundaries,
Right. And again, using that discernment. I heard that word in church one day.
Oh yeah.
Use discernment. And I said to the Lord, please provide me with the discernment, right? The serenity to change the things I can, to recognize the difference between those I can and cannot, right? And so that night when my boyfriend got out of the car, like at first he was passive, but then he got out of the car and then he was aggressive. I didn't pick that up. You know why? That's not my garbage.
Nice. You're like, I'm not taking
You have to go clean it up. And the reason why I stayed with this person, because we'd had some issues, because everybody does. And he said to me, you know what, I'm getting some counseling next week. And I said, what? He goes, getting some counseling. I'm like, no. He goes, yeah. He goes, a couple of things have happened, and I've noticed some things about myself that I'm really not sure about, and I don't even know if I like them about myself. So I'm going to go and get some help just figuring that stuff out. And I went,
Wow, this is a breakthrough.
yay. You know what? He was somebody who was willing to work on themselves. If you're in a relationship with anybody that says to you, oh, there you go again. Oh, you're back at that again. Oh, you. Oh, really? You. Everybody has their own baggage. Okay. I say to people all the time, don't be looking over in my backyard to see what messes I have. You don't live with my messes. Okay. My messes are inside of me, and I live with this every day. So what I choose to clean up is going to benefit me, and it's going to benefit the relationships I have with other people, and will draw in better relationships and more harmonious relationships. Wow, like that's a huge benefactor. Like I have all of these amazing relationships, and I have them because I'm willing to do the work. That doesn't make me perfect. It doesn't mean I don't screw up. I had somebody just say to me this week that I truly love and care about. I'm disappointed in you, Joni, but I have no control over that until that person is willing to come to the table and have that discussion. They may or they may not, but at the end of the day, I don't have that choice. But for me to walk around and feel bad about myself takes away my energy, drains it out like a toilet being flushed, whoosh, on, and then I lose my energy. And then the people around me who do love and care about me and want to have conversations, they lose.
They suffer.
Right. So you know what? Why am I doing this? So I asked myself the question, why am I allowing that one statement to define me? It doesn't define me.
I really like that you talked about this. And who we are as individuals is our choice. Who we choose to be, because we can better ourselves.
We already are. We already are. Look at you, Melody. Look at you. Look at all the things, right? Like all the things that we spoke about earlier, right? I mean, are we in the process of becoming a better version of ourselves? Absolutely. It's an ongoing process. I hope I will be doing this to the moment that I pass away. I'm going to just be, and I love this process, right?
I've just continually made the choice to keep healing and improving myself, and I have no interest in going backwards. And
you already are.
Yes. Well, but I do, have one issue.
Well, we all do.
I do have to
only one. I have a bunch.
I told you I'm amazing. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I know, but there's one in particular that I feel like, I need to work on.
Well, I like what Joni said. Oh, go ahead, Joni. Go ahead.
No. I was just going to say, Melody,
yes.
And you're the only one that has to know that. That there's no right, there's no wrong. It just is. And when you accept that it is, and you get curious around it within yourself, and you work on that, that's all that matters.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I like that you said, Joni, that you're going to be working on things till the day that you die. And I've used this statement many times that there is no finish line when it comes to working on yourself. That's what I believe. That you should constantly strive to move forward. And there's things that take a little time. I'm working on certain words that I do not want in my vocabulary anymore. And should is one, try is one, can't is one, sorry is one. I've pretty much got that one conquered. Nice. Because all those are negative type words. I don't want that negative vibe, negative energy going out.
I love that.
So I'm working more, and now I've got Janan doing it. So she will go, I'm sorry. And then she'll go, no, I apologize. So, and we catch each other. we're catching each other to help us make that step. And we've used this language all our life. The biggest one that I'm working on, Janan, is she's like, oh, I hate how my feet feel every time I wear these boots, or, oh, I hate this show. And it's like, do you realize you're projecting hate out every single time? I know you're just using it as a statement, but that's also a word that you will hardly never hear me say, because it projects such negative energy out there. And we just work on each other with that vocabulary. And when you start, and I didn't even realize how many times I said try. I was with a buddy once. We were sitting in the backyard of another friend, and we're talking about stuff. And he goes, Al, can I interrupt you for a minute? I'm like, yeah. He goes, do you realize how many times you said try in the last 5 minutes? I'm like, no. He goes, I lost count. I'm like, really? He goes, yeah. He goes, you said try this or try that. Well, try just means that you're failing. You should just, I'm doing this. Yeah. So
I think that's it. You guys have that kind of relationship. It's like you're both first, but you're each other's second.
Yeah. Yeah. What was you going to say, Joni?
It's interesting because this buddy of yours told you that you shouldn't do that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah. And that's what's funny too, because that's another word that we don't like saying you should.
Exactly.
Yeah. Don't should on it, people.
In my house, I never allowed the word hate or stupid or no name calling. And I got that from an actress, no name calling. But when kids are coming to our house and they say, oh, I really hate that. And I say, you know what? We don't use that word in our house. And they're like, oh, yeah, just use the word dislike.
Yeah.
I truly dislike that. I was always saying, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Like, right. I'm dodging the ball, playing dodge.
Yep.
I said something wrong. Oh, dodge the ball. Now I say to people, thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate you saying that. When it's a criticism.
Yeah. I usually tell Janan when she says, I'm sorry, I'm like, for what?
I'm going to think about that.
I mean, seriously, for what?
Yeah. And
because you're not 100% perfect. It's okay.
Yeah.
But this
right?
came from someone that I truly care about. And it really, I was like, whoa, that is not good. And I sat with it for months, but I didn't carry it around. I didn't pack it in my bag and carry it around like a weight. I put it down, and then there would be times something would happen. I'd pick it back up and I'd look at it again. That's interesting. And I saw it from different sides. And it showed me things that I really wanted to know.
Yeah.
And it gave me a few aha moments. But if I had taken that and just, picked it up and wadded it in a ball and just threw it back at him and said, no, that is not true, right? Which is such a reactionary, and that's the elusive space, right? There's the action, and then there's the reaction, and there's that little tiny space right there that you're trying to grab. And it's really hard because in fast and slow thinking, what do you think does the thinking? What do you think does the reacting? Our brain thinks, our emotions react. Reactions are like breathing. It just happens. We don't have to think about it. Thinking is hard. You have to think. You literally have to think. Someone says something, someone does something, and you react. So when you see someone like freaking out or getting pissed off or getting angry or whatever, and people go, whoa, you shouldn't be doing that. No, really? You shouldn't have emotions? Absolutely, you should have emotions. Even if it is anger, as long as you're not being destructive in any which way, then you go ahead and be angry. You go ahead and voice your anger. My kid said to me one time, I think you're bipolar. And I'm like, what? Because when you get angry, you say it, and then you stop. And I go, that's right. It's called a controlled anger.
Yeah.
I've learned to control my anger. And in doing so, in finding that little elusive space, when somebody says something, I go, oh, there it is. There's the trigger. Okay. All right. And I sit with that. And if it's something, I try to give myself 24 hours before I respond.
Yeah, feelings and emotions, they're just a normal part of life. Even God has feelings and emotions. That's why we do.
That's why we shouldn't be.
His image.
There's that word, shouldn't be. That's why, when allowing things to just flow, allowing things to flow. And you're right, Al, that's when your spouse is standing in front of you or anybody, and they use those really harsh words, it's uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. It's very uncomfortable for me. I do not care for it at all, because to me it's that negative energy is being projected onto me, and I don't. Again, we'll go back to the dodgeball again. I'm just I don't want anything to do with it.
You want to dodge it.
Yeah. Yep. And I like how. Oh, go ahead, Joni.
It's a good thing to not want to be involved with. It's a good thing, and that's a good boundary to say to someone, that word makes me feel uncomfortable. I'm just asking if you would be kind enough to use this word instead, or choose another word.
Yeah. Before we go to a commercial break here and come back to end the show, Janan was working with this gal years ago, and she brought in this rock. And I mean, this rock was like about this big. And she gave her a magic marker. Mm-hmm. And she goes, I want you to put all the negative feelings that you have about yourself or bad things that's happened to you, and I want you to write those words on this rock.
Ouch.
So she did. She got Sharpie and she's writing all these things. Mm-hmm. Well, she goes, I'm done. She goes, okay, now, and I want you to promise me, now I want you to carry this rock with you everywhere you go for a week.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
You need to have it right next to the bed when you go to bed. When you get up and go have a bath or a shower, it goes in with you. You go to the bathroom, it's there with you. You go to work. So she did. And she had me hold her accountable for it. Wow. After the week was over, we went over to their house and she goes, are you tired of carrying that rock around yet? And she goes, yes, please. Can I stop? And she goes, do you understand what I'm trying to tell you? And she, of course, she was still battling with her addiction. So it kind of came to her and then disappeared again. But she goes, how did it feel carrying around that rock all this time? And that's a heavy rock for my wife to carry around. I mean, literally she was walking around like this with that rock. And she goes, that is the baggage that you are carrying with you every single day. Every single flipping day, you're carrying this with you. And if you're tired of carrying this rock, why are you holding it inside you? Why are you carrying it inside you? And I don't know why. I had completely forgot about that, but somewhere in this conversation that it just flashed to me, because I was thinking, holy shit, man, I'm glad that's her carrying that rock and not me. Right? But in all reality, I've been carrying around a lot of rocks as well. And those are things that I have been working on in, the past few years. And especially with my wife getting sober, it's like, I finally realized I'm not able to help her. She's the only one that can help herself, but I can help her to a certain content or a certain way, but how can I help her if I can't even help myself?
Yeah, that's
because I wasn't even helping myself. And that's why I was going down that same rabbit hole with her and allowing her to drag me down that. And it wasn't her. I was allowing it to happen.
Right.
So.
Yeah, you got on for the ride, and there's no rescue boat coming. Everybody has to take responsibility for their own behaviors and actions.
Yeah.
A lot of times that rock that a person's carrying around, a lot of the stuff packed in that rock didn't even belong to that person to begin with.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Hey, we're going to stop for a quick commercial break, and we will be right back to wrap this thing up.
Very nice.
Do you have unresolved trauma that's affecting your life?
Have you lost hope or are struggling to make connections?
Are you lost in the darkness of depression and have difficulty in finding the light?
At Matter Behavioral Health, you will learn to know thyself, heal thyself, know and heal others.
If you are tired of not living your best life,
if you are sick of living in your despair,
take your power back today.
We can help. To find out which solution is best for you, give us a call at 435-462-2781 or on our website at matterbehavioralhealth.com. That's MATR.
behavioralhealth.com. And the number once again is 435-462-2781. Let us love you until you can love yourself.
Hello there, this is Brad Neufeld with the Resilience Talk Network, and I would like to introduce to you Taffytown, one of our newest sponsors. Let me introduce you to Derek.
Hi, I'm Derek from Taffytown. We're proud sponsors of the Other Side of Addiction podcast. Taffytown is a family-owned and operated business still operating in the Salt Lake City area for over 100 years. We manufacture some of America's best saltwater taffy.
What makes Taffytown stand out from all of the others?
We have a unique recipe, a whipped-style recipe that incorporates egg whites, evaporated milk, real sea salt. It's a unique product that is flavorful, melts in your mouth, and the best part is we probably have a flavor for anyone's liking, a flavor for any reason, for any season. We have unique flavors like chicken and waffles, maple bacon, frosted cupcake. New this year was a pineapple ghost pepper flavor.
That's awesome. Where can people find out more about Taffytown and all of its products?
You can check all of this stuff out. All of our products are available for sale on taffytown.com. We ship for free from our website, so all of our pricing on there is shipping included. Oftentimes we offer special promotions and discounts to our loyal customers, so do be sure to sign up for an account. And we look forward to seeing what we can do to make you smile with our taffy.
Where are you located?
We are currently located at 9813 South Prosperity Road in West Jordan, Utah, just at the foothills of the Copper Canyon Mine.
Derek, taffy has always been a great gift to give. What are some of the creative ways Taffytown can help say thank you to others?
Yeah, if you're looking for gift ideas, whether to say thank you to friends or family, or maybe to your clients after such a difficult or successful year that you've had, you could look no further than to get a gift idea from taffytown.com. We offer prepackaged gift boxes that say that it's saltwater taffy from the city of the Great Salt Lake, and it tells a little bit about the history of our community and making candy for so long. You can also do customized gifts to pick out just the right flavors or colors of candy for that special someone and deliver even a personalized message in that box to them. So please feel free to check out taffytown.com for any gift ideas this season.
Thank you so much, Derek. Please visit taffytown.com, that's taffytown.com, to find out more about the products and services that Taffytown offers. You won't be disappointed.
Do you know someone who's gambling with death due to an addiction? Do you know someone whose life is being turned upside down due to a loved one that's battling with addiction? Hi, I'm Al Richards. I am the host of the Other Side of Addiction podcast. I started the podcast due to my wife's battle with alcohol. Let's just say I became addicted to her addiction. Our podcast is helping people understand a little more about those who have battled addiction and those who are hurting from their addiction. Through raw vulnerability, we share stories that help uncover the root causes of addiction. Shame felt on both sides, matter of the conscious and subconscious mind, continued beliefs, and often confusing paths of recovery. We collaborate with real people and their stories, as well as licensed professionals, to help our audience gain a better understanding of addiction. You can find us on Resilience Talk Network. You can also find us on Facebook at Mr. Al Richards. That's Facebook at Mr. Al Richards. You can also find us on YouTube. Just look up the Other Side of Addiction podcast. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Other Side of Addiction. Again, this episode is brought to you by our our platinum sponsor, Matter Behavioral. We've got all these new cameras in the studio, so I have to have a note right in front of me that says, make sure I look at the camera. So I'm looking at the camera. Hey guys, I tell you what, this whole show has been so incredible. And I'm going to use my favorite word. It has been phenomenal. The information, I was really enjoying listening to you ladies talk the first half of the show. I was picking up on some really, really good things. And to hear where both of you guys have been in life and where you're at in life right now, and just hearing the experiences and hearing the knowledge and where we have actually, all of us have been, it's just been really, really good. This has been a new spin on a show. We didn't really talk all about addiction, but it all comes together. It's all in the same realm, if you ask me.
Absolutely.
But yeah, Joni, oh man, I'm so blessed and grateful that we've had this opportunity to meet, and especially to have you on this show. Just a complete blessing. You're a woman that I was able to tell here within the first couple minutes of the show. You're very strong. You know what you want, and you've picked up on things and you've learned things. And now you are out there helping other people through their trials to help get them strong. What's something that you can share with our audience that you think that would really, really get them thinking, something would get their gears turning?
Everything that you need is right there inside you and in front of you, and you have the power. You have the power to make the choices and to change the direction of your life if you so choose to do so.
I love it. It is about choice. We were just doing a podcast with holographic human technology on Tuesday, and they talked a lot about choice. And Joni just said it right there. We can choose whether we want to get angry. We can choose if we want to be happy. We can choose if we want to carry someone else's crap in the backpack, as Joni put it.
Yeah.
We can choose how we look at things, because even though we've been hurt and damaged throughout our life, they even said it on that Tuesday podcast. I think Whitney said it. We can all get past that, because if we continue to carry it around, it's, I just recently lost my dad, but I watched my mom and my dad to where they got screwed over quite a few times. Every person that they did business with, the first thing that they thought is, they're here to screw me over. And that's how they've lived the rest of their life. I actually quit referring people to them who I knew would do them right, because they just thought they were going to screw them over. And I thought, what a sad way of looking at life. It was their choice.
You're right, Al.
That's how they chose to look at things.
And
but
it isn't how I want to live. I don't want to go through life not being able to trust a relationship or, hold on to any fear. It's just letting it all go and just going with the flow.
And it takes time.
Yeah, it does.
Right.
Water finds its own level, right?
Yeah. Joni, thank you so much for your enlightenment today and your expertise. I hope we can keep in touch.
I'm so humbled by both of you, by your words, and I'm so grateful for this connection, because I'm addicted to connection. And like Janan, I'm totally addicted. It's been absolute pleasure having the opportunity to spend time with both of you. Melody, I knew of you, but hadn't had any interaction with you before, and I'm deeply grateful. Thank you for opening up and having these conversations with me. And Al, thank you so much for this invitation. Like I said before, I'm truly humbled by this. Thank you.
Well, we thank you so much for the kind words, Joni. And again, we are very blessed to have had this opportunity to be with you today. Yeah. So see, I was tearing up there. I haven't cried for a little bit. See it? I'm tearing up. And it's because that's how deeply I feel it. Yeah. We just so grateful.
Namaste. The light in me thinks the light in you is freaking awesome.
Ah, wow.
Very.
I'm the only guy here on the show, and I'm going to start crying.
Oh no. I'm right on the verge too.
Right on the verge.
There's that feminine side that you're
Yeah. That's what Janan tells me that all the time. And she tells other people, oh yeah, my husband's in touch with his feminine side.
I like it. I think it's really good.
It's very attractive for me.
Yeah.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
Right, please have a good one.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So, guys, we just want to say too, thank you to all our listeners for all your support. And thank you to all our many sponsors. You guys have heard this from the time that we started this show. We are quickly approaching a year, which is just incredible. And we just continue to gain momentum.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you to all our other sponsors out there. None of this would be possible if it wasn't for all you. And, none of this would be possible if it wasn't for our listeners and our supporters. So we're going to end it as we do at the end of every show. Remember, addiction is giving up everything for one thing. Recovery is giving up one thing for everything. We're out.